I was cruising through the internet the other day and I came across the Charisma website. Now, everybody knows that Charisma is your dump stat. Unless you're playing a sorcerer or a bard, you really want to put your stat points to anything else. Anyway, I came across an article by J. Lee Grady saying he has several proofs of God's existence. As always, this intrigued me. If there's evidence out there that my worldview is wrong, I would be curious to check it out. So I did. He starts with a little nice bashing of Madalyn Murray O'Hair. Apparently, several decades ago, he called her up with some questions. In the article, he takes to mocking her voice and attitude, saying how her worldview is so sad. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter how happy or sad one worldview is. The universe doesn't give a tinker's cuss how we feel about it. It is how it is, and our feelings don't make a difference either way. The odd thing is, he doesn't bring up what the conversation was about, his own questions or her answers. It seems to be just padding to the article, letting him bash this woman who's no longer around to defend herself. He then goes off on another tangent about the new, at this time, God's Not Dead movie. It always confuses me when people use fictional sources to support their beliefs. I love Star Wars, but no matter how impressive the feats on screen are, I still don't believe in the Force. Finally, in his opening, he mentions how he was never on the debate team, so he shouldn't take on Dawkins or Mayer. I actually agree with this, but from the opposite point of view. Debates, while they can be fun, should not be used to determine the factors of reality. Evidence should do that. Anyway, after a few pointless paragraphs of setup, he finally gets to the meat of his argument, the proofs that God exists. Let's look at them. Number 1. Babies. How can anyone deny the reality of God when they see a baby? The amount of information encrypted in one cell in the human body is equal to that of 1,000 books. You wove me in your mother's... The total amount of information stored in your DNA is 40 times more than the largest set of encyclopedias in the world. King David felt this sense of awe when he wrote, "You wove me in my mother's womb, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Life is truly a miracle." I held my son in my arms almost as soon as he was born, and my daughter as soon as the doctor said it was safe. I felt a sense of awe that I helped create these lives, but it did not make me think once that there's a God. The love for our children is encoded into most of us. The love and protection we feel for them helps us protect and nurture them. Babies depend on us for their survival, and those that don't have parents that care for them are less likely to survive. We are conditioned to love our children for the simple fact they are part of our species, and the survival of it is built into our genes. As a side note, the genetic line is not the only link to the bond there, and while it is prevalent, it can manifest itself in other ways. My wife, my kid's stepmom, loved the kids more than anybody I can think of, even without them being biologically related to her, because that encoding most of us have to protect and care for the most vulnerable of us is still there for the kids she loved, even without the biological link. And yes, DNA is complex. We've had billions of years of evolution with adding and modifying of our genetic code. Changes are made in every generation. So over the long periods of time, it's not surprising that our DNA has become so vastly complex. But that complexity can be explained through natural processes. The supernatural is not required. As for the claims made by King David in the Bible, it presupposes that God does exist. The ancients believed that God existed without evidence, and so they put him as the cause of things they could not explain. They did not understand the biological processes, so they attributed it to God. As we understand more and more about the world, the need for God to explain how everything works shrinks and shrinks. Since so many things previously attributed to God have been shown to be natural, at this point it makes sense that there are naturalistic explanations for everything we don't understand, even if we don't know them yet. Number 2. Thunderstorms. The Apostle Paul said that creation was the best evidence of God's existence. He wrote, "For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen." Nature is actually full of quantifiable miracles. Just consider the fact that the Earth is a perfect distance from the Sun to support life. If we were any further away from the Sun, we would freeze. If we were even slightly closer to it, we would burn up. It's obvious that God has created this home for us. This is the anthropic argument again. We fit in the world, therefore the world was created for us. But it works the other way around. The world is a certain way, so we evolved to fit into this world. Yes, we are within the Goldilocks zone for life. But with the vast number of planets out there, having at least one of the conditions to support life that are just right does not seem that unlikely. If a planet was unable to support life, then life would not exist on it. Only in the planets where life could exist would life exist. So it's not surprising that beings that evolved to fit so well into a biome would think that biome was so perfect for them. What we see as miracles regarding how perfectly life is set up for us is actually the end result of adapting to fit those parameters. And not all planets in the Goldilocks zone will have life. Mars is on the far end of the boundary of the habitable zone, while we are near the inside boundary of it. If intelligent life had evolved on Mars instead of Earth, then that life would marvel about how perfectly Mars was set up for them. As for thunderstorms, lightning is caused by an imbalance of electrons between the clouds and the Earth, causing a stream of them flowing from one to the other, heating the air. As the air heats and contracts, that causes a shock wave that we hear as thunder. Again, explainable using existing principles without the need for the supernatural. Number 3. Flowers. There are more than 400,000 species of flower in the world, and most of them are not edible. Their job is simply to make the world beautiful. Did they just haphazardly evolve over time, or did a loving God create each individual shape and color scheme for our enjoyment? People who choose to deny God don't spend enough time looking at tulips, snapdragons, orchids, lilies, lotuses, or magnolias. That's why it's really important to stop and smell the roses. Yes, many flowers are beautiful. We enjoy the sight and smell of some of them. But do you know what loves them even more? Bugs. While there are a lot of flowers that might look good to us, that's a lucky coincidence. They were formed through evolution to attract insects to help spread their pollen from one to another. Flowering plants evolved a relationship with insects. The sight and smell of flowers attracted them, and the insects carry the pollen from one flower to another to help with the cross-pollination. The flowers that are better at attracting needed insects will thrive over the ones that could not attract them. It was not haphazard, but yes, they did evolve over time. And flowers are the sex organs of plants. So remember, when you do stop to smell the roses, you're sticking your face in a plant's crotch. Number 4. The Bible. Paul wrote that all scripture is inspired by God. There is nothing like the Bible because it carries the same consistent message throughout all of its 66 different books. Atheists can laugh at that idea, but those who have read the scriptures and experienced God through its pages will know why it is the best-selling and most translated book in all of history. Fact, 100 billion copies of the Bible are sold every year. Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion, has sold 2 million. Yes, the Bible's popular, but popular does not always mean right. As popular as the Harry Potter books are, that does not mean the magic described in them is real. The Bible is popular because many people believe it is true, so it has been translated and passed on throughout the years. The origin of species is not considered correct because many people like it, but rather because the claims made in it are backed up by observations and evidence. Using the Bible to say that God exists is simply circular logic. The Bible says that God exists, therefore God exists, therefore the Bible is true, therefore God exists. The Bible is the claim. What is the evidence to back up the claim? Number 5. The global spread of Christianity. Today, Christianity has more adherents than any religion, and the numbers are growing in many parts of the world. Our faith is spreading because it is the truth, and history shows that when the truth is mocked or scorned, it actually spreads faster. The problem with that argument is the numbers of Christians are actually shrinking. According to a study by the Pew Research Center released last year, while still popular, the number of Christians from all sects, evangelical and mainline Protestants, and Catholics in the U.S. have been declining, while non-believers and non-Christian faiths have been rising. It's growing in third world countries, true, but in the developed nations, where access to better schooling and education is available, the numbers of believers are dropping. The explosion of the church in the past is proof that it was saying things people want to hear, but not proof that it was actually correct. Yes, Christianity is still popular, even as it is fading. But as I said earlier, popular does not always mean right. The Twilight movies were insanely popular, but that doesn't mean anybody was right for watching them. Number 6. Jesus. The most amazing thing about God is not that he exists, but that he loves us so much he was willing to send his son to earth to save us from ourselves. Jesus was with the Father from the time of creation. His crucifixion is a historical fact, and his resurrection is verified by hundreds of witnesses. Yes, but what evidence do you have that the mythical stories about Jesus are, true? There are lots of claims out there, but no evidence the miracles he performed actually occurred. No historians, apart from the writings of Josephus, which many believe are forgeries, say anything about the existence of such a person. And the hundreds of witnesses of the resurrection were in the Bible, the document making the claims. No outside evidence has ever been provided. All religions make claims about extraordinary events. Why do the ones about Jesus carry more weight? And if they don't, why are you not following every religion at once? The story about Jesus always did confuse me. Was God not powerful enough to just forgive people? Or did he spend a whole weekend torturing his son just for the show? And if Jesus existed since the moment of creation, why didn't he get sent back to earth before the humans existed, die, and come back so no one would have to end up in hell? And that brings us to our last proof. Number 7, my personal friendship with God. Atheists may not be convinced that God exists after listening to a storm, smelling hibiscus, or reading the Bible. When I'm asked to defend my faith, I don't start with an intellectual argument. I have to go back to the words of Paul in 2 Timothy 1:12. I am not ashamed, for I know whom I have believed. Okay, so the evidence you have is no stronger than that of a child discussing his imaginary friend. As I read it, you have no proof you can offer. Your belief is based on faith, which is fine, you're allowed to have that. But then why post the other 6 proofs in your article? You could have gone with, I believe, and leave it at that. You're never going to convince skeptical people by saying you have this feeling. You need evidence, and by your own admission, you don't have any that will convince a skeptic. If you didn't want to have an intellectual argument, why bother writing such an article in the first place? Aside from the obvious reasons, but I was always told you could go blind if you did that too much.
Was the loser, now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changing.